How's it going, guys? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Having a pretty good day here. Let's thank the patrons. Thank you guys so much for being a patron, being a member. If you want to support the Reaper blog, this is a fantastic way to do it. Patreon.com/the Reaper blog, or hit the join button on YouTube. That button's not available on the iOS versions of the YouTube app, but yeah, from the website you can do it. Eric is asking, have I talked to Ryan Canestro recently? The funny thing is, it was like March 5th, I think, is when I last talked to him. I sent him an email. I was like, you want to do a podcast? And he's like, just too busy. And like, or I think I was emailing him about something else, like if he was still alive or that sort of thing, because it was like a year since I last heard from him. It was like right before the pandemic. And I was like, I kind of missed the podcast. But then we never like picked a date and we never did a podcast. We could have, I think he was off work because he works in the film industry in LA. So he hasn't, I don't think he's been working this whole time. We absolutely could have knocked out like 15 podcasts over the past few months. Adrian asked, do you have an LFO plugin that you use to modulate VSTs externally? No, mostly I use the parameter modulation in Reaper or automation items. I'll use those as well. And for me, that covers all the bases, but what are some examples? I can't think of a way you could use a VST to control automation of another plugin. All right, so Adrian's saying modulating multiple plugin parameters at once, filter on a synth, and saturation effects and reverb all at once. Yeah, I think you can do all of that from Reaper pretty easily. So I don't know. I feel like you could cover all that stuff with one LFO. I think you know what to do. Pretty much anything goes today. Whatever you guys want to talk about, or because of this move, there's a lot of like major questions kind of or unanswered things going on. So I don't want to like, I'm not in the right headspace to like make videos, but I'm having a lot of fun doing live streams and interacting with you guys. I'm also kind of curious to see like how minimal my setup can be. Having a computer itself is kind of like, that takes up a lot of space. And then you've got adding a second monitor just so you can see the live stream setup. And then you've got speakers and you've got camera equipment and lighting and then MIDI keyboards and rack mount gear and all this stuff. And like, I use a lot of it, but I don't use any rack mount gear. So some of that's already packed up. I own like 20 mics, but I pretty much only use this one AKG D5. Is that what it's called? Yeah, D5. Any issues with PDC in Reaper? Anything of note that you may be aware of? So this question comes from Nathaniel Cooper. I don't think so. I think there can be some issues when you have a track that is within a folder, and that folder has some effect that causes a long PDC, and then you're taking that original track and sending it somewhere else, and so that send needs to be time aligned with its main output on the folder. I think there's potentially an issue there, but I haven't actually heard it like cause phase cancellation or anything like that. Recently, I've been kind of thinking about that, and I've actually been putting, like, if it's a reverb send, I just put the reverb inside of like the drum bus folder. So the snare is sending to the reverb track, but the reverb track is within the same like gain stage or hierarchy as the original sending track. And then, any parallel processing or anything like that, it's all in sync. But it's not really something that I've worried about or ran into issues with. But you can see how like that definitely complicates things when you've got a large amount of PDC on the main signal, but then it has to send out earlier on the send to come out in sync at the main at the master. So I don't know. I think changing the routing can make it easier, but I think Reaper will handle it regardless. Lots of people saying that they love the blog, they love the videos, been super helpful. Thank you for saying that. I get a lot of very positive feedback from the community, and it's awesome. I don't always address it, but I feel very privileged to, to be in this position where I can, reach people from all over the world through making videos of topics that, things that I like to talk about, things that I'm interested in. Eric's asking about Razor edits coming to Reaper. Have not used it. I haven't used any of the pre-release stuff over the past year, just because I felt like with the switch from Mac to PC and having my streaming setup and all this stuff, it's like having a version of Reaper that I couldn't completely rely on, or couldn't, I couldn't learn some new feature and get excited about it, and then they take it away for 6 months, or have like projects that require those sorts of things. So I haven't been doing that. When something like that is final, when I see that the release candidate is up, then I'll learn it in like the 4 days or whatever it's available before release. But it seems interesting, but I've never used it myself. Robert Miller asks, is right-click properties on media items your method for time adjusting? Right-click properties for media items. Sorry, Robert, I don't know what you mean by that. Like going here and then adjusting the position? No, never. I drag it, or if I have a position marked, I'll do something like that. I'll just use a keyboard shortcut to snap it. That sort of thing. Or if it's time aligning, let's say I wanted to time align this particular beat, I'll alt drag it to snap it. But other than that, no, I don't really. How do you guys feel about background music? I think we should probably have some background music. Playing YouTube on YouTube, that's very meta. Yeah, but it's YouTube Music. I switched from Apple Music to YouTube Music a little while ago. I got the YouTube Premium just to like get rid of ads and not feel bad. But it's been pretty good. It's a pretty decent interface. The main downside is that it doesn't have oops. Why did I click it in OBS instead of... Sometimes I'm just dummy. Sometimes I look at my OBS screen instead of my actual screen. Makes no sense. The downside is that it doesn't have like keyboard controls. You have to switch to the browser tab. It's kind of annoying. Where like iTunes just integrates with the keyboard, especially on Mac. Someone was asking about Reaper 7. I'd say it's probably 4 years away. Reaper 6 to me felt like it was at least a year late. So if you guys don't know, Harris Heller, Alpha Gaming, he started this company, Streambeats, and they just do like streaming safe music libraries. And he spends a whole bunch of money doing it to like, just so that streamers don't get hit with copyright strikes and stuff. And there's good background music. So until I can kind of get something off the ground with doing that myself, I get kind of bored listening to my own songs all the time. So I'm going to try out this. I was looking back at the stream yesterday. I was thinking that it was a little too quiet, kind of in between questions and stuff. Yeah, I think Reaper 7 will be like 3 to 4 years away. It's usually every 4 to 5 years. The amount of features that they added in Reaper 550 was pretty insane. In that it made Reaper 6 kind of look bad. There has to be like big kind of fundamental changes that determine a full change log or a full version number. I don't know, there were so many features added during the version 5 cycle that like Reaper 6 by itself doesn't look like a huge upgrade. But if you compare version 5.0 if you compare version 5.9 something to version 6, it's not a big jump, but if you compare version 5.0 to 6.0, it's huge. Pete asks, have you ever used a Streamdeck with Reaper? I have, and it was a bit disappointing for me. I wanted to be able to use a Streamdeck and a mouse and not use the keyboard at all and just have my drum editing workflow like sorted out, or video editing workflow. And it just wasn't, the keyboard doesn't have the right feel for that. I mean, I can't hold it up, but I have a Streamdeck in front of me and I use it for like every app except for Reaper. So, but lots of people use it for Reaper. It's just the button feel is a bit weird. Like you can press it kind of on the corners and it doesn't always register as a touch. And there's kind of like a long press with a click that's a little bit weird. I always found it hard to like kind of anchor my hand on it and know exactly what buttons I was going to press without looking. I think it's a great product, but I'm using it mostly for controlling OBS, for making my videos and stuff. Carl Grimm asks, what feature would you wish Reaper would add or change? I was talking about this yesterday. Having a second video monitor window would be great. I think that opens up a lot of possibilities for voice actors that have an engineer working with them, or for Foley studios or ADR production, stuff like that, where the engineer can have a video window docked within the main UI and then have a second full screen video window in the vocal booth, the Foley pit, or whatever. That's one thing. Just more video features is my my kind of bias for features. How can I disable project settings tab on a startup? It's so annoying. Anyone? Let's see if I can find that. Opening project startup. Is that in advanced? Is that notes? I think it's this. I think you just uncheck show notes on project load. I think that's it. Otherwise, it's in preferences project, open properties on new project, the second checkbox. So get rid of those. Can we use a Wacom graphics tablet for controlling playing synths? Is it possible to do using scripting in Reaper? Yeah, you should be able to use a graphics tablet as if it was a mouse. Pretty sure. For a synth like Isotope Iris 2, you should be able to like do the spectral editing with that. You could probably make XY controllers and things like that to use with it. I would kind of wish I had one to try. I've been thinking of just buying a cheap graphics tablet. But I have an iPad, so it's like hard to justify like a desktop peripheral when, like, especially one that doesn't have a monitor built in. But I know that the good monitors that have touch control are like pretty expensive. Samuel says, Reaper for iPad is nowhere near according to Kakos. Will there be a stripped down version in the future? Just curious. iPad version of Reaper, I don't think they're going to do it. Their focus is on supporting like Mac and PC and Linux. And I have no idea if Justin uses an iPad or anything like that. I've had a lot of music apps on my iPad and I just never end up using them. Like, if I'm sitting at Subway and like I'm bored, I might crack open one of those apps, but like I never use it for serious stuff. I never really even use it for art. Kind of rarely. Have to force myself to. TH Wath says 60 watching and only 21 likes. Yeah, hit the like button, guys. Why not? Doesn't hurt. But it doesn't bother me if you don't hit the like button at all. I try not to look at those things or let it bother me. I mean, as long as it's not like 60 dislikes, and I think we're all having a good time here. Lucky, if you get a Wacom graphics tablet and try it with Reaper, I would be curious to hear how that goes for you. to actually see what you can do. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be like a mouse, but who knows. Is there a action to unselect envelope items? It'll be like unselect or deselect. There is a... Yeah, so these would be in the reteam repo in repack. Unselect all automation items. No stock actions, but they are in repack. Is there a way to make a contextual menu that has a mixing, editing tab or button that will change the buttons within the menu? Yes, there's contextual toolbars, which is an SWS function. I've honestly never explored this, but it is a pretty cool thing you can do. Let's set this up so that transport will open up my move to and copy actions. What was the repack team name? It's reteam, but it's going to just be like the default stuff. All right, so I'm gonna hit save, and how do I... I've never looked at this. Contextual toolbars, and how do I open? I need a key. Yes, okay. So if I go over my transport bar and print F9, that opens up a toolbar. If I'm over here, no. So we need to set up more things, but that's basically it. You can set these up. So you can set up a series of toolbars and have them custom for wherever you hover your mouse over. Yeah, a ton of options here that I've never looked at before. Arrange view, empty track, items. Yeah, so if you want to completely customize your menu and do it in a way that's like a pop-up like this, that's pretty cool. Seems pretty powerful. You can also do things like have a button on a toolbar that opens up another toolbar. Lucky says, I have one. I'm thinking of writing code to implement XYZ pressure to control monophonic instrument with portamento. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That's a really cool idea. Tablet does work like a mouse. Not really better than a mouse, unless we use it for plugins with XYPad. Yeah, that's pretty much what I figured. I thought, maybe for like pencil tool style automation, like if you're doing this freehand style automation, maybe with a pencil, it's better. Or if you're doing the take volume envelope. Doing this sort of thing, maybe that's better. It's interesting. Just even being able to switch from pen to mouse occasionally, or switch from the mouse to the pen to give your hand a different shape to be in for a little bit, it'd be helpful. Like sometimes when I'm doing a lot of drum editing and stuff, I'll switch to a controller like this one and use the knobs for nudge instead of having to constantly tap shift and stuff like that. Cheap Amazon Fire as a touchpad. That's interesting. Yeah, you could also set up like any phone or tablet as an XY pad, and you just send out two different MIDI or OSC signals. But yeah, having pressure would be pretty cool too. Is there a way to show the peak value in decibels for a specific track in the track view? It only seems to show if it's clipping. Yeah, I keep thinking about that too. Is that in the theme adjuster? Meter values? No, it's actually not showing. Meter values. but it's not showing any meter values. Default 5. That didn't have it. That one did have it. It is possible. I'm gonna have to look in the actual RT config to show the meter values, because it doesn't seem to be enabled in default 6 or my own custom theme based on default 6. I just noticed after I reloaded my theme, I've got markings on my meters now. I don't know what I did. Do you see that? I don't know what I did, but yeah. I think you have to reload the theme after you make sure that meter, oh, right there, meter values is not hidden. And then you can get that. I was just this morning, I was looking for like meter markings and I didn't see it. Thanks for bringing that up. Nathaniel Cooper asking about Pro Tools. I haven't used Pro Tools since 2012, I want to say. Maybe a bit earlier than that. I bought an iMac and I never installed Pro Tools on it. I kept my my installer, my iLock for a little bit, and then I ended up selling it. And yeah, I don't think I've needed it once. I may have missed out on one job because of it, or because of not having it, but like, I don't know. If anyone is really that picky about what DAW you use, then like, you know, you don't want to work with them. I don't think Pro Tools is worth the money. I was watching a video from Evan, what's his channel? Pod Peak. 10 reasons why he uses Reaper, and he was talking about the price. I think he said it comes out to like $8 a year. So like compared to $80 a year, I think is minimum for Pro Tools. Maybe it's $700 a year or something like that. I don't know. Well, it's kind of stupid. For those of you that were here yesterday morning, I got a new guitar pedal. I got to try it out a little bit. If you don't know, this one here. Camera, focus, hello. There we go. The Amoon, I don't know, Pockecho. It's kind of like it's a multi-effect delay thing and looper. I tried it a little bit. It sounds pretty good, but then when I switched over to my TC flashback, it's like not even close. But it's like, I don't know. I think it's a big difference in price. If anyone was ever looking for an alternative to this one, I got a hair on it. Problem of having women in the house. Too much long hair everywhere. How many minutes on stream are wasted on trying to get this camera to focus? It's hilarious. Come on. Well, anyways, if you're thinking of buying a TC electronic flashback and then you see this thing and you think, oh, that's close enough, it has the same features, it's not even close. They're both pretty good. Flashback is much, much better. Instantly you play better plugging that in. Or I should say, instantly it sounds kind of like I can play. Mariano Garcia asks, what kind of audio interface are you currently using? I'm using the Arturia Audio Fuse, the original one. I really like it. And I would upgrade to the larger one probably next time I'm looking to upgrade. There's a couple things that I don't like about it. It has a mini USB connection, which is just terrible. I don't really know why they would do that, but it's cool. It has a record player input It's got a reamp built in. It has boosts for the mic preamps. It has 3-port USB hub, 2 headphone outs, 2 mic preamps, SPDIF and ADAT inputs. It's replaced a monitor controller for me. It has a talkback mic. It's crazy. Crazy good. Any good virtual pedal collection recommends? You get a lot of good ones with Helix, and I really like the Amplitude custom shop stuff. You get a couple days to like try things out, and I think that's a great way to like, you know, try them out, obviously, but it's a cool way to like buy things a la carte. I find I get a tone quicker with Amplitude than I do with Helix, but Helix, it's much deeper, and it's kind of just like this. It's everything. You pay one price, you get everything, versus Amplitude where there's different collections. There's the free version you add on, and that ends up being kind of expensive. I got most of my Amplitude stuff from sort of like advertising deals. So they give me a whole bunch of credits to talk about their stuff. I would like to know when Helix will actually get a tuner. That's like the biggest, most obvious change that they could make. I've been complaining about that since version 1 of Helix. Again, they sent me that for free to review, and then I never ended up doing the review because I complained too much. So they probably won't send me anything again. I complained to them by email before I was going to do a video. I featured it in videos, but I haven't like done like a proper review like was originally planned. Yeah, tuner's in the hardware, but it's not in the plugin. It's kind of dumb. If you're looking for a tuner, I like the TC stuff. I always have this on my pedal board, Polytune Mini. This is like the first version. I think they have some newer versions. There's a Polytune Black and stuff like that. And there is a VST version of it as well. I'm out of focus again. Favorite SFX tools and why, except stock plugins. Biome is really great. Amplitude, Helix. I've got all of the Sound Toys. Ozone, that counts, right? I like Ozone a lot more than like Trash, but I do have that as well. I had the original Nectar from Isotope. That was pretty good. Everything these days sounds good. Can we do post-fader effects? A few Air Windows plugins need that. No, you can't. I can't relate to that question. Like I don't mix that way where I would need to. I would just use fewer of those plugins and put them on a place like top of the drum bus chain or something like that, rather than each individual plugin or each individual track. I think Sound Toys is overrated, nothing special for a huge amount of money. I don't use them all that much. I have them, and then I only use them for certain things. So I have the full set. I use Echo Boy Jr. a lot. That's one of my like go-to effects or delays anyways. Devil-Lock is like one of my favorite kind of dirty compressors, distortion boxes. Crystallizer is one that like never gets used, or the Filter Freaks. I never use Effect Track. Potentially you can do everything in Effect Track. Like it looks cool, but I never end up using it in a track. I do like their reverb, and I do end up using the CQ or SciQ quite a lot. This ends up on buses and stuff like that, just because it's such a quick, easy EQ to use. I just like do a little low and high boost, and like, you know, sounds better. I used to use Radiator a lot when it was like my only plugin. I got a lot of the Sound Toys plugins for free. They did giveaways, like whenever there was these, I think it was the Tape-Op convention, they would do a free offer for the Little series plugins, or they would launch a new plugin, and I would always jump on that. I would promote it and then end up winning the upgrade or something like that, just because I had a lot of people following me on Twitter. Once I had all those plugins that I got for free, they did a offer for upgrading, and it ended up being really cheap, like, I don't know, 20 bucks a plugin. So it was worth it. Is there a shortcut key for Metronome? Yep, there is. I don't know it off the top of my head. Disable Metronome, enable Metronome, and toggle Metronome. So toggle is usually the one you would assign. If you prefer to use a click track instead, there's an action like SWSAW insert click track, which just makes a track with a click source on it. And then there's a button for toggling mute. And so this action just looks for any track named click, and it will bypass, or it will mute it. Said earlier it's possible to create buttons to open toolbars. Can you show us that? So let's say I have a toolbar button here. I've got a customized toolbar. I add let's do like, let's say this one. All right, so I've got a new button on my toolbar here. If I click on it, it opens up a toolbar under the mouse. And then the buttons within the toolbar, you would set to run the action and close the toolbar, something like that. So yeah, it's a bit of work. I think someone has done a video on that. Maybe James, what's his name? I forget his name. I think his name is James. He makes Reaper tutorials. He's from the Reaper blog community group and the other Facebook groups. It's not my original idea for sure. Quick source is great for side chaining instead of using the kick. Yeah, I've done that a fair amount of times. I mean, as long as that is the pattern you want. Pretty much these days, I use the duck plugin instead. In case you haven't seen that, it's one of my favorites. So this has various trigger modes, like repeat will just repeat this pattern at this speed. And there's some preset patterns here. You can change the amount that it's turned down. You can do a low and high crossover, any speed, triplets, things like that. Oh, I didn't even notice that there was an offset. That's cool. MIDI input trigger, a sidechain like audio input or plugin input. I can't remember what plugin input does. I guess plugin input triggers itself. That's interesting. Devious Machines Duck. Highly recommend that. I just put this on all my synths these days. Never feel the vibe with metronomes. Always end up using drum VSTs for a temp drum loop instead. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth doing that. It's worth putting the extra effort to do that. It's like a better, cheaper version of LFO Tool. Yeah, I'm sure LFO Tool is a great plugin as well, but Duck is just one that caught my eye at a time when I needed it, and it's like, wow, this is great. I ended up buying it, made a video about it, and then Devious Machines liked what I did and sent me the rest of their stuff. So Devious Machines is a cool, small company making good stuff. I like supporting them, even if I can't give them money anymore because they've already sent me everything. But yeah, Duck was such a cool plugin that solved a lot of problems for me. I like that you're using musical, like your project music time to set like attack and release times instead of having to like, get a calculator and get your release time just perfect so that the compressor stops compressing by the time the next transient comes in. It's super flexible and it's great for sound design too. I was doing this this trick. Maybe I'll just set this up. I don't know if I've ever shown this. Right, so I'll put in an empty MIDI item and then I'll put in a utility like tone generator on the item. And I'm gonna set this to like the max frequency, 24,000, right? So it's just gonna be like an inaudible sound. Then I'll put on a distortion like Air Lo-Fi. And so now we've got aliasing distortion. cool, right? But it's a tone, so it's really only like making a sound when you move the sample rate knob. If we had some motion in here, this would work better. Oh, was it really loud? Sorry, guys. I turned down my speaker so I couldn't tell, but I'm sorry. I apologize. What do you say? 8 dB down? Let's do that. Okay, so then I take my favorite duck plugin and I put that in. And so the signal chain is tone generator, just making a tone at top of the frequency. Then it's duck, and then it's air lo-fi. So when I play this, let's do a 8th note. And I'm gonna loop my project. And then I can use the attack or the depth controls in air lo-fi. Might actually slow it down. Yeah, so this is a lot of fun to do this kind of stuff. So I'm controlling the sound partly through duck by adjusting the volume before it gets into air lo-fi, and then I'm using the envelope mod here so that depending on the volume coming in, the sample rate knob moves on its own. But you could also sync your LFO in here. Let's say sync it to 8, and then increase the depth so the sample rate lowers on an LFO. So you use that to make like UI sorts of sounds, like computery sounds. Yeah, this is something that I kind of came up with probably about a year ago. No, even longer ago. It was like August of 2019. I first came up with this idea to do it with these particular plugins. Yeah, I never made a video about it. I had Luca Fusi over here, and we played around with this for probably like an hour. And then like, I feel like it got out of my system and then I never ended up making the video. But yeah, this is fun stuff. That's about all the time I actually have today. So thank you guys so much for joining me on the stream today. Really awesome to have all you guys here. We've got a Patreon. We've got membership on the on YouTube. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.